everybody, welcome back to the channel. So here we go, in two separate videos, but in one shot here. At this setting right now, I'm going to review episode 5 and 6 of Game of Thrones. So starting here with episode 5, this is a good episode. It gets you intrigued. There is so at the end of this episode, Ned Stark is injured. He's been stabbed through the leg by a lance, and his right-hand man there has been killed by Jaime Lannister. He's now he's now practically under arrest by the Lannisters, and he's also, at the end of this episode, discovered that all of the Baratheons were black of head when Joffrey is actually yellow of head, and it just kind of leaves it off at that. It leaves it kind of mysterious. There's a scene where the woman in this scene actually becomes a main character later on, but for now she's just like a drifter kind of peasant woman. And Robb Stark and Theon Greyjoy, this band of these bush people, are about to not necessarily kidnap. They're intimidating Bran with kidnapping, but it's actually not their intention. They want to steal his horse and loot him for equipment because they know he's highborn. And there's a pretty cool, brutal fight scene between Robb Stark, these bandit people, as well as Theon Greyjoy comes in there too to kind of save the day, per se. And yeah, so this was an exciting episode. This was an intriguing episode. It locked you in quite heavily. I quite enjoyed it. It made it so that you can't really help but watch the next episode. And one thing I'll say is, I almost, believe it or not, I hate almost everything in the series that takes place with the Dothrakis, and I'm glad that as the show progresses, it doesn't go into them that much. Like anything with the Starks and the Lannisters and the Five Kingdoms and the Vale and King's Landing and all of these different places are super, super cool, and I get totally wrapped into them and all of the characters and all of the places and all the adventures. The Men of the Night's Watch, the North, the Wildlings, the White Walkers, all that stuff. I find it all very fascinating. I mean, the White Walkers haven't even came into it yet, but just as the series progresses, I find that all super intriguing and interesting and really well done and cool. The one glaring flaw, I think, perhaps not in the books. Like, by the way, I haven't read the books. I wanted to, but I'll tell you why I have not. I mean, I love Game of Thrones, the show, and I've researched the books, and I've seen the interviews and documentaries with George R.R. Martin and all of that. But I also, one of my favorite franchises, The Lord of the Rings. Okay, I have partially read the books, but I did not complete them. I read The Hobbit, and I read just about all the way through The Fellowship of the Ring, but I did not complete the whole series. And I read all the time. I don't review books often. I mean, perhaps I will in the near future, but I'm kind of a slow reader. Not like, I have the ability to read fast, but what I tend to do is sometimes I end up picking I don't know why, sometimes it's nice just to have a shorter book to read, but a lot of times I'll pick up quite a long book, and I'll just I regularly read at least once a week or twice a week or even more than that sometimes, but I'll just slowly poke away at this longer book, right? Just as always have it in my backpack, always have it on me kind of a thing, and pass some time with the book. But But so I feel like if I'm gonna read Game of Thrones, like to anybody that's like a super heavy duty book person or right into literature, in general. I find it to be, I mean, whatever. In the old, in the true reality, it's like whatever, fuck it, like do whatever, and who gives a shit what people think. But still, as somebody who cares about the art of all of this, and somebody who does write too, and have a deep interest in that whole aspect of filmmaking, as well as novelist and poetry and everything. Like I love to delve into the whole world of writing too, and I would find it to somebody who is, per se, completely up on all the education that there is to have on something like that. I'd say that they would probably say it's almost sacrilege to have read the Game of Thrones books without have read the Lord of the Rings books. At least in my opinion, anyway. It's just I'm kind of old school, but whatever. It's just my opinion. That's just what I think. So I want to complete those books. I mean, it's not what I'm reading right now or anything. I have other stuff on the go that has to be cleared off before that comes out. So this will be a while, but I really do. It's definitely in my plans. I want to read the whole books of Game of Thrones. Um, but I want to read the Lord of the Rings, although I'll even reread The Hobbit and everything. Like I'm going to start it right from scratch whenever I get around to this. But yeah, I want to read the Lord of the Rings books before I read the Game of Thrones books. But yeah, I will probably give episode. I will probably give episode 5 an A. I quite enjoyed this episode, so that's my review for episode 5. Guys, thank you very much for watching, and look forward to episode 6 coming up right away.